Good evening and welcome to Granada Reports.
Hello, here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
Taking their campaign to Westminster, survivors of the Isle of Man Summerland disaster seek support from MPs as they fight to get the original inquest verdicts overturned.
They didn't take a risk. It wasn't an accident. They didn't go in there knowing that they were taking a risk, entering an unsafe building.
6 months on from the Southport attack, calls for the families of the 3 little girls murdered to be placed at the heart of the forthcoming public inquiry.
Pep under pressure. It's a must-win night for Manchester City in the Champions League. We'll be live at the Etihad.
5, 6, 7, 8, 1.
Surely that's a good idea. The Strictly Judge showing off some fancy footwork to help communities keep fit.
And it's certainly been nice to see some wintry sunshine around today. Hopefully a little bit more to come for tomorrow. I'll have all the details in the forecast later on in the programme.
Well, first tonight, the fight for justice by the survivors of the terrifying Summerland fire on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, 50 people died and more than 100 were injured when the Summerland holiday complex near Douglas burned to the ground in a matter of minutes in August 1973.
The inquest which followed returned a verdict of misadventure which effectively put some of the blame onto those who died. The survivors are demanding the Manx government overturn it.
And a growing number of MPs here support them. Our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes was with a group of survivors as they took their campaign to the UK Parliament at Westminster.
There's absolute pandemonium here because Summerland is ablaze and blazing down.
For those caught up in the Summerland fire, these memories are all too familiar. At just 13 years old, Jackie Hallam was at the very centre of the blaze. She lost her mum Lorna and best friend Jane. 2 years ago, she shared her story for the very first time.
I could feel my clothes melting into me. I felt my hair singe and, I knew that I was on fire.
2 years on, and that trauma has turned to strength, as she now leads the Justice for Summerland campaign to Westminster.
It's certainly progression. We certainly feel as though we're making progress with this campaign, and we're really hopeful that we're going to get the results that we want and that we deserve.
The campaign hopes to overturn the death by misadventure verdicts placed on those who died. Jane Stevenson lost her grandma to Summerland and is now fighting to reopen the inquest into her death.
They didn't take a risk. It wasn't an accident. They didn't go in there knowing that they were taking a risk, entering an unsafe building. And the verdict was unjust then, and 53 years later, it's equally as unjust now.
Speaking in 2023, the now Prime Minister was first told about the Summerland tragedy.
Well, the first thing is my heart goes out to the families. I absolutely understand from their perspective. We have to understand where the families are on this, first and foremost.
And this week, those families got that chance, addressing MPs in a meeting chaired by Warrington South's Sarah Hall, now planning to take the fight directly to the Isle of Man government.
It's outrageous that the people affected haven't had justice in over 50 years. Absolutely outrageous.
How much influence can MPs really have in the Isle of Man, given it's a separate jurisdiction?
I think a lot of influence. I think that collective voice is very powerful. I think we've seen that before. We've seen that with Justin Madders, who had a superb debate in 2023 and the impact that had. Now, if we can keep going with that momentum, if we can come together and keep that pressure up, I think we can make a big difference on this.
It makes me quite emotional, really, to feel as though we're finally being heard. I've said before that this is not going away, and I reiterate that. We're not letting go. We are not letting go.
We may be a few hundred miles from the Isle of Man, but this meeting sends a clear signal out across the Irish Sea that when it comes to Summerland, people in power are listening. MPs here may not be the decision makers in Douglas, but their actions today won't go unnoticed. Political pressure is building as this campaign gains momentum, a sign that perhaps what still lies in ruins may finally be addressed.
Yeah, another exclusive by Josh. He's with us in the studio now. So a big day at the UK Parliament. Josh, I guess the big question is the government of the Isle of Man listening?
Well, look, as we saw in the piece, the Isle of Man is a self-governing crown dependency, meaning it has its own laws, its own government and its own parliament. Therefore, many of the decisions that are made in the UK do not necessarily apply to the Isle of Man. However, this is no doubt something that the Isle of Man government will be concerned about tonight. We reached out to them today asking for a comment and they haven't got back to us as of yet. They have, however, previously spoken about things they have done to try and remember the Summerland tragedy. So in 2023, for the 50th anniversary, they had a special memorial service, and the Chief Minister also issued an apology for what he called the suffering caused by the wrongs of the past. But what we do know is it's rare for the Isle of Man to feel much external pressure, but particularly political pressure. Having spoken to government officials since the 50th anniversary, we know they're aware of this campaign to reopen the inquest, but so far they've yet to commit to looking into it. We know that the campaign hopes to submit that fresh inquest application as soon as possible, so we think perhaps the government might respond once that has taken place. But with all this mounting pressure, we're reaching a point where the Isle of Man government will either have to properly explain why they can't reopen a fresh inquest, or seriously consider how they could potentially work with UK MPs to try and hold this new Summerland inquest. Either way, it's a lot for the island's government to be thinking about tonight.
Yeah, indeed, and it's a story we'll be keeping a close eye on, no doubt. Joshua Stokes, thank you. Well, next, calls for the families of the 3 little girls killed in the Southport stabbings to be placed at the heart of the forthcoming public inquiry.
Yes, exactly 6 months on, the lawyer representing the families say they're still suffering unimaginable grief for the loss of Bibi, Elsie and Alice.
Yeah, solicitor Sarah Stanger spoke to our reporter Emma Sweeney and told her their grief had been made worse by the shocking details about the attack which were revealed in court.
Following the guilty pleas, there was some relief that they wouldn't have to go through what could have been 4 weeks of a criminal trial. I think the sentencing was incredibly shocking for everyone listening to it, but I mean, the families were devastated in relation to the further details that were released. But even the most hardened of police officers, I think, were shocked by what came out during the sentencing.
You know, we've heard that he was known to multiple agencies over a number of years, including counter-terrorism. In fact, the Prime Minister himself has said that the country has failed to protect in its duty towards these 3 girls. That must be really, really difficult, again, for these families to hear and to comprehend.
The fact that there were up to 15 missed opportunities to intervene with the defendant is shocking. Some of the information is new, and we are hoping that this comes out in the public inquiry in more detail.
A public inquiry the families welcome.
Yes. The families are very grateful that a public inquiry has been announced so swiftly. They are looking forward to having contact from the government in relation to the next steps, which will be the preparation of the terms of reference. It's vital that the families are at the heart of this. You know, in creating the terms of reference with the government, the scope and the objectives should have the families in mind and the families' comments included.
And one of the terms of reference that we do know that will come out in the public inquiry is online material. There is outrage at the moment because some of the material that Axel Rudikavana was able to access is still available online, isn't it?
Yes, I've heard this morning that some of that graphic content is still available online. And I don't think there's a parent out there that isn't concerned about public safety at the moment. Our children have access to powerful computers in their pocket, in their phone, and technology is moving so quickly that I think we need the help of internet providers and social media providers to help us, well, to give parents the toolkit to protect their own children, as well as moderating it somewhat.
You've been working with the families now for a number of months. Do you have some sense of the little girls and how they were?
From talking to the families, you get such a real sense of who the girls were, the big personalities that they had, and the huge hole that they've left. You know, the families are suffering unimaginable grief, and they've asked for respect and privacy at this time so they can grieve.
Let's hope the families are kept at the very heart of the upcoming public inquiry. OK, another news today, and there's been no further comments from the Church of England after it emerged the Bishop of Liverpool, John Parambalath, has been accused of a number of sexual assault and harassment allegations. A Channel 4 investigation alleges that 2 women made accusations against him and that the Church of England was aware of the claims before he became the Bishop of Liverpool. The Bishop denies any wrongdoing. The Church has denied claims of a cover-up and said anyone who comes to them with a complaint will be treated with respect.
An inquest into the death of a 2-year-old boy in Bootle has been adjourned for investigations to continue. Jude Gerard was taken to hospital following an incident at Early Learners Day Nursery earlier this month. Today, a coroner said investigations will be carried out by the police, health and safety watchdog and the Food Standards Agency. Jude's cause of death remains unknown, but in a statement released shortly after he died, his parents said they were devastated beyond words.
United Utilities has confirmed it will increase water bills for its customers by 32% over the next 5 years. The company, which provides water across the northwest, say the increase will help to pay for improvements to infrastructure to reduce pollution.
Doctors on the Isle of Man have accepted a pay offer after postponing strike action last week. The walkout would have been the first in the island's history. Today, Manx Care confirmed that doctors had accepted the offer of an 8% increase backdated to April 2023. They said the offer was made possible with funding from the UK government.
The Chancellor has backed Manchester United's plans to regenerate the area surrounding the club's ground. The £4.2 billion project, which could include a new stadium along with the regeneration of the surrounding area, has been proposed by United's co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Earlier, Rachel Reeves outlined her plan to encourage growth and highlighted the project as an example of public investment outside of London.
The government is also backing Andy Burnham's plans for the redevelopment of Old Trafford, which promises to create new housing and commercial development around a new stadium to drive regeneration and growth in the area. These great northern cities have so much potential and promise.
And that links perfectly into sport, and it's crunch time for the blue half of Manchester, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. Another key moment in what is proving to be a very difficult season. Not long ago, City were the kings of Europe. This was less than 2 years ago when they lifted the Champions League trophy. Well, tonight they face the prospect of crashing out of the tournament early. City need to beat Bruges to enter a playoff to qualify for the last 16. David Chisnall is at the Etihad for us. And David, there's been some drama there in the last few moments.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. Not the build-up the club would have been hoping for ahead of such a big game, such a must-win match here at the Champions League. You can probably see a few whiffs of smoke still around the Etihad. That is because, well, part of the area outside the front of the stadium had to be evacuated, and fire crews were on site dealing with a fire at one of the stalls just outside the stadium. We were actually among those who had to be evacuated. We were there filming as their new signings were being unveiled to the gathered crowd outside reception at the Etihad Stadium. But as I say, we had to be cleared. So did most of the crowd who was there as well. Fire crews were quickly on site dealing with the fire. Let's hope that no one has been injured and that it won't actually affect the game here tonight, because as I say, this is such a huge game for Manchester City. Champions of England against the champions of Belgium. It's City against Club Bruges in their final game in the new league phase of the Champions League. It is win or bust for City tonight. They know that any other result, well, they will be dumped jumped out of this competition. They've underperformed in Europe so far this season, and Pep Guardiola knows that his side, well, they're going to need something special if they are to get through to the knockout stages, as they take on a team who haven't lost a game since October.
I know this type of games that you have to put something special, something that have not been enough so far in the Champions League to win the game. Go through, but with football, you never.
Especially after last game, we played home. We're gonna have a huge support from our fans. So yeah, I think we're gonna be ready.
Well, Guardiola has never failed to qualify for a knockout stage of a Champions League as a manager, but just 2 wins from 7 games so far leaves them 25th in the table, outside the 24 top spots that will see them qualify through to the next round. They're really going to need to pull something out of the bag tonight if they're to avoid an embarrassing and shocking defeat and an early exit from this competition that just 2 years ago they went all the way in and were crowned champions.
OK, David, at the Etihad, thank you very much indeed. Well, it's a far less stressful situation for Liverpool, who are already through to the last 16 of the competition. Tonight, they wrap up the league stage away to PSV Eindhoven. The Reds are resting a host of big names, including Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah. But Cody Gakpo gets the chance to play against his former club. He says Liverpool are in a better position than last season to challenge for silverware.
A year has gone by, and then as a team, as a group, you get more experience, you get more togetherness as well. So, yeah, I think we were growing last year, and we are growing this year as well. So, hopefully, we can bring it to a good end.
Marcus Rashford has been left out of Manchester United's squad for tomorrow's Europa League match against FCSB in Romania. The England forward hasn't played for United since mid-December, with manager Ruben Amorim questioning his effort. Well, he trained with his United teammates today but hasn't been included in the 21-man squad heading for Bucharest. Morecambe are free to make signings in the final week of the January transfer window. League Two's bottom club have had a transfer embargo lifted after owners Bond Group secured funds for the rest of the season. The Shrimps lost again last night. Those sides who did pick up points, though, included Bolton, interim boss Julian Darby maintaining his 100% record as Wanderers beat Northampton 3-1 to close in on the League One playoff places. Blackpool are on the climb too. Steve Bruce's side were 2-0 winners away at Lincoln City. Stockport County remain in the playoff spots thanks to their 1-0 victory at home to Shrewsbury Town. While in League Two, Fleetwood Town beat leaders Walsall by 2-0. Crewe Alexandra are 4th in the table after their 1-1 draw with AFC Wimbledon. And Salford City missed the chance to climb into the playoff places as they drew 1-1 with Newport County. And that's your sport tonight, guys.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mike.
Now, how's this for a bit of glamour on a Wednesday? Strictly star Shirley Ballas has been passing on her tips for the perfect paso doble and fabulous foxtrots to fans in Liverpool.
He's off. Yeah, the Northwest dancing queen, who hails from Wallasey, is one of the most renowned and decorated professional dancers in the world. And now she's teamed up with a Strictly co-star to share their trade secrets.
And O'Connor's waltzed over to meet them.
A side street in Garston on a cold January morning. Got some real stardust earlier.
I'm Shirley Ballas, and I am the new head judge for Strictly Come Dancing.
5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Chick, 1, cha-cha-bum.
The Dancing Queen Supreme brought another star of the show, Nikita, as part of her Dance With Us tour. A chance to learn a few steps and behind-the-screen secrets from the show.
Strictly is my Saturday job, if you like, and everything that comes with it, but I never gave up my day job, which is teaching and coaching beautiful dancers all the way around the world from age 4 years old all the way up to the senior level. So I love my job, so I was never going to give that up when I got the job at Strictly when I was 57.
My Saturday job was stacking toilet rolls in Tesco, so I already feel inadequate.
I've had a few of those jobs when I was younger.
The Wirral-born champion is taking her tap shoes to various venues across the country, but feels most at home here.
I've moved 28 times in my life. There is nowhere in the world, trust me, like Liverpool. They are kind, they are giving, they are caring. It's just everything to me. It's just where I've grown up, do you know what I mean?
kind and caring and very talented.
Yes.
We'll shimmy and shimmy and shimmy, get down and shimmy and repeat, shimmy.
The sessions are for young and more mature, beginners and those who know how to strut their stuff.
Oh, come on, girlfriend. Wow.
For us as a dance school, it's spreading the word really a little bit, opening up the fact that we're here. We always think like dance is a really good thing for fitness, mental health, and to spread that word and get more people here, and dancing can only be a great thing for us.
Fran and Sue only took up dancing in, let's say, later life. Now they're teaching others at their school in Aintree.
People say, I need rhythm, I'm not fit. We can teach everybody to dance.
I've had people come through the school who have had, say they've had 2 left feet and they can't dance, and they've come for a week, and then later on they've ended up taking their medals, beginners, bronze, silver, and they've turned out to be good dancers.
You can teach me, girls, because I'll be a real challenge.
Of course, we'd love to.
Thankfully for all of you watching, I'll leave it to the expert. Anne O'Connor, ITV News, Liverpool.
Come on, Katie, you train as a professional dancer. You're going to teach me how to do that shimmy.
We haven't got long enough.
And shimmy, and shimmy, and
Oh,
shimmy.
dear.
Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Some lovely sunshine around today, more to come tomorrow, but it's feeling cold. Mostly dry conditions by day as we approach the end of the week, but there's some rain to come tomorrow night, which could be a bit wintry as it moves through at first. Into the weekend, more of the same, but pulling in a little bit more cloud to our part of the world. For much of tomorrow, it's dry and settled, but building from the west cloud tomorrow evening, and this rain band will push in during tomorrow night into the early hours of Friday, when it will turn just a little bit wintry in the Pennines at first, before it quickly moves away, and Friday will be a dry day. Still that chilly breeze tonight, and 1 or 2 showers being generated for Irish Sea coast, the Isle of Man, perhaps through into parts of Merseyside and Cheshire overnight tonight and start the day tomorrow. Other than that, for most of us, it's dry, chilly, a touch of frost and a few fog patches in sheltered valleys before tomorrow morning. When the sun is up at 8:15 tomorrow, setting at around 4:45 tomorrow evening. For most of us, a chilly, dry start to the day. Fog will lift, skies will be bright again like they were today. Still a few showers feeding through on that northwesterly airflow, mind you. Mostly dry conditions, though, for the northwest as we go through the afternoon, and feeling cold again, 6 or 7 Celsius at best. Into tomorrow evening, that cloud will build from the west, and we'll see the rain band beginning to push through. Certainly as we approach the early hours of Friday, it's moving through very quickly, but it could be just a bit wintry up on the top of the Lakeland Fells and the Pennines as it does move through, leaving behind cloudy conditions and a cold day to come on Friday. The weekend looks chilly and dry for most of us, a few showers perhaps by Sunday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Joe. And that's it from tonight's Granada Reports, and it's just time to wish all those celebrating a very happy Chinese New Year.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.